What if this season of life isn't about slowing down, but living on purpose? In this episode, we're talking about bucket lists. Not just the dramatic kind, but the kind that bring joy, courage, faith, and a little adventure back into everyday life. If you're a single Christian woman over 50 wondering, what's next for me? This conversation is for you. You're not too old, you're not behind, and you're definitely not done. We'll laugh, reflect, pray, and dream together because God isn't finished with your story, and neither are you.
Welcome to the Jesus People Sisterhood podcast, a place where Christian single women aged 50 plus connect. I am your host, Janine Jordan, a Christian confidence coach and leadership mentor in Alberta, Canada.
And I'm your co-host, Ellie McCormick, a Christian longevity coach and mentor in the USA. Being single women over 50, we know what it's like to feel overlooked, to have unrealized dreams, to experience the challenges of singlehood, and to be concerned about what our future will look like. We couldn't find anything online for single Christian women over 50, so we created Jesus People Sisterhood just for you, a place where sisters encourage and empower one another through the last third of life. Because you are a treasure trove of wisdom and of exceedingly great value. This is an authentic community, a supportive family, with other women on the same journey where Jesus is the center of it all. Here you will find real talk, real community, and real sisters.
Join us as we discuss building relationships, whole health, and growing spiritually. We'll review helpful books and articles, chat with guest speakers, share success stories, and have some laughs along the way. So grab your favorite beverage and we'll get started.
Welcome, sisters, to this episode of the Jesus People Sisterhood podcast, the only podcast specifically for single Christian women over 50. Today, we give a shout out to our sisters in Massachusetts. Thank you for listening. It's a blessing to provide this podcast for free, but it does cost us to produce Jesus People Sisterhood episodes. It would be a great blessing to us that if you decide to buy a book mentioned in this podcast, you purchase it through the link in our episode show notes.
And we want everyone to get to know our listeners. And so we'll be doing listener spotlight episodes from time to time. And if you'd like to share your testimony or what the Lord is doing in your life currently, or if you are leading in ministry or another field and would like to tell us about that for a Jesus Sister Excelling in the Last Third episode, please contact us at support@JesusPeopleSisterhood.com. We would love to have our listeners come and share with the sisterhood. And now let's get to today's episode.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Jesus People Sisterhood podcast, the podcast for women who've lived enough life to have wisdom, enough courage to keep growing, and enough humor to laugh at ourselves along the way. Today, we're talking about creating a personal bucket list. This is not necessarily the before I kick the bucket list. It could be, but it could also be I've still got a lot of living to do, and I'd like a plan, thank you very much list. Today, we're reimagining what it means to dream after 50, and we'll explore how creating a personal bucket list can open the door to growth, community, adventure, and purpose in this season of life. So, let's get into it.
Okay. So why does a bucket list matter at this stage of life? As Psalm 90:12 says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom, not a heart of fear, and not a heart of regret, a heart of wisdom, the kind that sees opportunities instead of obstacles. And as women over 50, the time we have left to accomplish things is diminishing. We often lull ourselves into thinking we have more time until the day comes when we don't. If you just listened to last week's encore episode on vision boards, you may be wondering what the difference is between a vision board and a bucket list. So, a vision board is for a 1-year period, and a bucket list is for things you hope to do in your lifetime.
You can probably guess that step one is start with prayer. Let's talk about prayerful reflection. It doesn't have to be, Lord, reveal my destiny type of prayer, just an honest one. God, what do you think I should do with my time, experience, and energy after 50? When I prayed that prayer, I didn't hear a booming voice and I didn't get a vision. What I did get was a thought. You've been talking about creating a longevity course for years. Maybe stop talking. That was convicting, but fair. Prayer doesn't necessarily have to be about finding one big purpose. It can be about tuning into the small nudges, the things we've buried under responsibilities, grief, fear, or just routine. Some questions to ask are, what did I always want to do but never had time for? What has God been gently pushing me toward? What would bring joy back into my bones? And yes, joy is spiritual. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Step two is to create life categories. And let's have some fun with this. To avoid creating a list that's just about travel or just about spiritual goals, let's spread it out. Here are the categories, along with some humor, because if we can't laugh at life after 50, what are we even doing? The first one, spiritual growth. Not the check all the boxes kind, but the soul nourishing kind. Here are some suggestions. Attend a silent retreat. Yes, a silent retreat where no one is talking, just you, God, or your thoughts, or your thoughts about your thoughts. Maybe you could try a new devotional practice or a new devotion. Maybe you could consider taking a course or attending an event at a different church, especially if your church doesn't offer something that you're naturally interested in. You might learn something and experience spiritual growth in a new environment. Number two, personal development. Second category. You're not done learning. A bucket list is something you've always wanted to do. You may have to do some research or revisit those dreams that you had previously. I can remember when I was younger, in my 40s, even 30s, and even 20s, I always wanted to visit Tibet. And I'm not sure exactly where that came from, but I can tell you now, later in life, much later, that visiting Tibet is not on my bucket list. So make sure that you really take time to revisit your dreams and research or think about what you really want to do now and what's viable for you now. And here are some more suggestions. Learning a language, that can be something that can greatly benefit you. And you'll be able to, especially even if you can't learn all of it, if you can learn to some simple phrases like, where's the bathroom? Or no, I don't want to salsa dance with you. That might be something that will come in handy. And there are free apps like Duolingo, things that you can tap into that don't cost money and give you the advantage of learning something else, and especially a language. You could take a course that stretches you, one you've always wanted to do but are fearful of. I remember specifically, I took a project management course, and it was something that I'd always wanted to do, and it was wonderful. It was something that I learned so much. No, I wasn't top of the class. No, I didn't understand all the backstory, and it took me a little while to catch on. But it was exciting and something that I felt so confident in my abilities after that in that area. It did take some work and it did take some extra planning, but it was so worth it. And then there's other things that you can do as well. Like perhaps you have an affinity for photography or you want to learn more about that. What about if you just took out that camera and started working at that or took a course in that as well? And even if your camera roll came out at like 98% blurry pictures of your dog, the point is that you've actually tried to do something new and stepped into that and maybe learned something very worthwhile while doing that.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention here that a bucket list, the definition is stuff that you wanted to do at least once in your life, and you put it in your bucket list. But I think there's also a lot of older women who aren't even really sure what that is anymore. Or
Mm,
even if they had like you said, Janine, that you wanted to go to Tibet, and that's not what you want to do now. I think for a
Right.
lot of women, we spent much of our life serving others that we don't really know ourselves anymore. And for that person, that's where you need to kind of research and maybe try new things to find out what you like and what you might want to do, what you might want to put on that bucket list. But I think for a lot of people, there's things that are on that bucket list in their mind, but they've never written it down and they've forgotten about it.
Mm,
So it's basically just going back and praying about it and thinking about those things of how you always wanted to learn to play a piano or learn to speak French or take a French cooking class in Paris or whatever
right.
you're, as far as going under personal development anyway. So I just want to point that out. It's not necessarily about exploring different things in personal development. It's about the things you wanted to accomplish before you went home to be with the Lord. That's
Yeah.
what's on the bucket list. So
Mhm.
number three is health and wellness. It's not punishment. It's not perfection. It's not fitting into jeans from 1993. It's just feeling good in your body. And here's some suggestions. You could try water aerobics. It's basically a pool party with leg kicks, and it's easy on your joints. You could walk 2 miles a day with worship music. I like to listen to podcasts, so I'm killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Strength training because you're losing muscle rapidly at our age. And we've talked about that.
Hmm.
And lifting groceries is not the workout program God had in mind. For health and wellness, I think probably a lot of us have wanted to be healthy and we've all, that's on our bucket list, but then we put it off just like everything else. So it's helpful if we could be specific about what we want for our health and put it on that bucket list.
Right.
Number four is adventure and travel. Now, I think this is a classic thing that people think about when they talk about bucket list. Whenever I heard somebody said, "Oh, it's on my bucket list," it almost always refers to travel
Hmm.
or some adventure. So, but travel doesn't have to be extravagant. Some suggestions, maybe you've always wanted to visit the Holy Land. I think a lot of Christians do. Group tours are great because all the planning's done for you and the safety and the snacks. Um, and I've heard the testimony from many believers that after visiting the Holy Land, it had a life-changing effect on their lives and their faith.
Hmm.
And that's like a bucket list type of thing, right? You could take a scenic train ride to the next state over, or travel solo to a place that feels safe and inspiring, even if it's just a town an hour away. Just these little small adventures
Hmm.
that you could put on your bucket list. It's personal to you.
Right. Right. And so we come to number five, which is community and relationships. And loneliness is not a spiritual gift. Connection is. And
I thought it
here's some,
was. I feel like mine. Just kidding.
no, Ellie. So here are some suggestions in this category of community and relationships. Join a Christian group that has a common interest to reach out and share the gospel. Uh, Ellie and I were talking about this earlier this morning, and just thinking about how if that is the interest of the group to reach out and share the gospel, that might be something that lights your fire and gets you going, and just something that you might be really interested in, and could be a lot of fun. And you could definitely build some new relationships that way with a common practice or a practice or a common goal. Sorry, a common goal. You could also host a monthly potluck for your neighborhood in your neighbors, and they're of course no, they're not all going to be of your faith or of your maybe not have your interests, but it can be a time to just reach out and just start to gain relationships with those around you because as everyone knows, we don't know our neighbors as well as we used to, and maybe for some that makes them happy, but really it's nice to be a little light in your own community, and it's something that you could do if you didn't want to do it on your own, of course, maybe you could get some other neighbors that wanted to do that. And you can make yourself available to be a mentor or just have it known in your community or in your church that you would like to mentor younger people, people with maybe not the experience that you have, and you certainly have the stories and the wisdom, and we've all made mistakes that we can probably share with others and then share how we've grown and how we can help others or or empathize with others that have made some mistakes too and are available experience can help others maybe even not make the same kind of mistakes or start them in a new direction. So don't forget that you have that ability, that those mentorship qualities, because you've lived the life and you have the backstory and you're building that faith. And so there may be somebody out there that could greatly benefit from what you have to offer. And the other thing is, and I think we all love to have pure fun. Don't you love fun, Allie? Fun. Fun
Yes.
is holy. Let me repeat that. Fun is holy. So here are some things in the pure fun category. Now, I don't know. Maybe starting a garden isn't exactly what I would consider fun, but I'm sure there's some out there that would definitely, if they got started, find that to be something that just enriches their lives and maybe the lives of others too. Everything might die the first year, but try again. I know we're not they talk about people having green thumbs and maybe some do, but if you work at it and you learn about things, you can excel. And somebody else suggested take line dancing. Yeah, well, for those of us who aren't too clumsy, I think that that's something that we might consider. It's really fun. And it can also be more cardio than you expect. It really gets your heartbeat going, and you can well, if you're not tripping on people, but you can actually get a good workout from that too. And the other thing that we were thinking about was go to a comedy show. Tim Hawkins, he's an American comedian, clean comedian. If you look him up on YouTube, he's got some wonderful shorts and it's just funny. And sometimes we just need to take the time to have a good laugh. And, the Bible says laughter is good medicine. And it is good
It
medicine for
is.
us and something that we need to, Ellie and I laugh all the time, I think. Before, just as we're creating content and doing things and bantering back and forth, we find a real joy in laughter and finding some things humorous. Like not all the time, but certainly it's got a place. So doing something for pure fun, just for the fun of it, should be on your bucket list, in my opinion. So, and the next one is legacy and purpose. And this is probably the really powerful category. And I think Ellie would agree with me too. Love the suggestions in here. Record your testimony on video. I think that that's such a wonderful thing to do. And Ellie, you have a little bit of a story there, don't you, about recording your testimony on video?
Yeah, I mean, so years ago, I don't know, I think maybe I was interested in recording a family tree or something. It must have been some homeschool suggestion. I don't remember where it came from. And so I always lived when I was when I was married and raising my children, I always lived far away from my family of origin.
Mhm.
And so every once in a while, my mom would come and visit, and she would stay for a few weeks. And I think maybe about now, probably almost 20 years ago, she came to where we were living at the time, and I decided to do a video recording because over the years I heard her stories about living through World War II and her family and different things, and I was like, I should record these. So I asked her questions. I think it started out as kind of like I was trying to make it a project for my oldest son, but he didn't, he kind of like gave up. So I ended up asking the questions, and we had that. It was like 2 hours of her telling all these interesting stories about her life and then how she met my dad and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then I had told my sister about it, and I think I sent her the recording, and I said, hey, maybe because they lived right where my sister and her family lived, maybe you could get my nephew to interview my dad, his grandfather, because I knew there was all kinds of stories on his side of the family too that my grandmother used to tell. Well, she said, yeah, yeah, but she never did it. And then some years went by, and then my mom, maybe about 10 years or so, my mom passed away, and then my dad passed away, I don't know, so many months after her, 9 months after
Right.
her, maybe. So
Mm,
at her memorial service, they played that video that I had done of the interview of her. And
mhm.
everybody was like, wow, you got the stuff that they didn't know that she shared. They thought maybe I did it just before she died. And I'm like, no, I did it before that because before she died, she died of cancer. She couldn't have given
Mm,
that interview. She was
right.
deaf, she was weak. And
Hmm.
so it was important that I did it when I did it.
Hmm.
And the sad thing was is that when my father died some months later, they never did interview him. And so all those stories are pretty much lost,
Right.
which is sad.
Hmm.
So the point is being, we all have something to share from our family, from our own lives, and every life it is a story that can give glory to God. We should record that. We should be thinking about the purpose of our life, the legacy that we leave.
Right.
And that should be on our bucket list, I think.
I agree, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, a mom or a dad. It could be something that you record for a special situation or a special occasion or something like that. I did do a little video for my niece who was turning 16, and I read a poem to her on the video. And I said, it was Robert Frost's Two Roads Diverged, and The Road Not Taken is what it's actually called. And I did it because I was trying to leave her something that would remind her of me and would be something that even in the future. Right now at 16, you don't really think you just think it's a poem. But when you're 30 and when you're 40 and when you're 50 and when you're 60, if she were to revisit and keep it that long, that it changes, right? It changes how you think. You're just very different in those ages and stages. And so I think could be something that you use in any kind of situation where you're trying to pass on something to those ones that you're leaving, because you are really have so much time. And so what are you going to leave and what are they going to remember about you? So important. The other suggestion that we had in this category was write letters to your future grandchildren, even if you don't know whether you'll have them. I mean, that's something that could be something that you'd like to do as well. It doesn't necessarily have to get sent, obviously, but it's something that you're thinking about, you not being here, and what are you leaving? What is going to happen? And how are people going to view you? And what is your witness? What is your legacy? The other thing that I feel very strongly about is sponsoring a child or supporting a missionary, because that's leaving a legacy as well. And there's so many good organizations. Do your research, obviously, but there's good organizations, and those children, they do benefit, and the missionaries do benefit, and you are using your influence through your money to support those kids. And I've heard of friends of mine who've had wonderful, even a relationship with a sponsorship child, or they've, in some way connected, and that person has known what an impact it has in a child's life. And so that's something that I think we both can agree on is just a wonderful legacy to leave behind.
Yeah. And I mean, you don't have to have something on your bucket list from each of these categories.
No.
It's just a suggestion, but I think it is important to really think, what should I have on my bucket list? And and it is
Yeah.
important just as a Christian in all these different categories, there's things we should be doing in our life anyway.
Right.
So, yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So, step 3 is dream big, but then start small. And here's where a lot of people get stuck because lots of women state their bucket list dreams and then immediately following it, they'll say, but maybe I'm too old. No, stop, don't do that. Here's a
Mm.
strategy. Write it down anyway, and then choose one big dream. This scares me, but in a good way dream.
Yeah.
And then 3 medium dreams, things that take planning. And
Hmm.
then 5 tiny wins, things you could literally do next week. So here's an example. Let's say your big dream is go on a mission trip to Kenya
Right.
or Kenya, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And then the medium dreams could be join a hiking club, learn to play the piano, and take a theology class. Small wins could be visit a local museum, try a new restaurant, declutter one drawer, just one. It has to be small.
Right.
Call a friend you've lost touch with, buy a new Bible in a translation you like.
Hmm.
Because, small wins create joy, and joy
Mm.
creates momentum, and momentum leads to obedience, and obedience leads to transformation.
Amen. Yeah, absolutely. Those are great. Those are great. Yeah, big dreams, medium dreams, and small wins. Okay, step 4 is add faith-based action steps. So everyone has bucket list items, and the difference for Christian women is how we approach them, obviously. So for each item, pray over it. Choose one small step, add one scripture. And here's a good one. Tell one friend because accountability works. It really does. It makes it much easier for you to get it done. For example, item. Take a solo trip to a mountain town. Scripture. Isaiah 52:7. How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of the messenger who brings good news. Step. Research 2 safe locations. Accountability. Ask a friend to pray for wisdom and safety. There you have it. Simple, grounded, and not cheesy. What do you think?
Step 5 is make it visible and review often. So put your
Mm,
list somewhere you'll see it, like the vision board. You could put it on your nightstand, your bathroom mirror, your prayer journal, your phone lock screen.
yeah.
I used to have Dave Ramsey's financial baby steps posted on my fridge, so that can work. Monthly reviews help you see where God is nudging you now. Bucket lists are not set in stone, they are living documents just like you.
So here's a story about what happens when you say yes. Yes. Let me tell you about a woman named Denise who got divorced at 55. She told a story of how she felt like her life had ended until she put one thing on her bucket list, and that was learning to kayak. She joined a beginner's class because she was terrified, and I would be too. And she almost backed out when she realized the life jacket wasn't figure flattering. Those are her words, not mine. But she did it. And the funny part? She met 2 women there who became some of her closest friends. And now they pray together, they travel together. They even accidentally tipped a kayak once and had to be rescued. But that's a story for another episode. And the point? The point is this, Sally. Saying yes to one simple dream opened the door to community, confidence, and joy. And that's what a bucket list can do for you.
Okay, ladies, so if no one has told you lately, you are not too old, you
Nope.
are not behind,
Right.
you are not past your purpose. God doesn't check your age before he decides to use you. He doesn't look at your relationship status and say, maybe later. He calls you now, in this season, in this body, with this heart.
Mhm.
Isaiah 46:4 says, I am he who will sustain you. I have made you and I will carry you. He's not done carrying you into new things. Your bucket list is not a list of activities, it's a declaration. I'm alive, I'm growing, I'm available for what God has next.
That's right. Thank you for spending this time with us. If you've loved this episode, share it with a friend who needs permission to start dreaming again. And if you want a printable bucket list template that you can fill in, we'll have one posted in the files section of our private Facebook community, Jesus People Sisterhood community. Until next time, remember, faith is the compass, joy is the journey, and you, my friend, still have miles to go.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please share any thoughts that resonated with you from today's podcast episode in our private Facebook group at Jesus People Sisterhood Community. Start reaching out to other single women and create your local group of Jesus People Sisters. Please let us know about your group to add to our directory by contacting us at support@jesuspeoplesisterhood.com.
Have you had a good experience with a business? They've treated you honestly and helped you at a reasonable price? please let us know. We would like to start a directory of JPS-friendly businesses. Let's care for one another.
Be blessed by him who is able to protect you from stumbling and to make you stand in the presence of his glory, blameless and with great joy. Until next time. Hey, sister, before you go, thank you for listening. If you found value in today's podcast, the best way to say thank you is by leaving a 5-star written review at Apple Podcasts. That raises us in the rankings and helps other sisters find us too. And please tell a friend or post it on your social media. If you're a single Christian woman over 50, this podcast was created specifically for you. The Jesus People Sisterhood is your community to find support and friendship with other sisters who can understand. Be sure to follow us on your podcast app and join our free private Facebook group at Jesus People Sisterhood Community.
Jesus People Sisterhood has also started a private Facebook group for housing and co-living opportunities. You can check that out at Jesus People Sisterhood Senior Housing. You can also find us on Facebook at Jesus People Sisterhood and individually for Janine at riseupcoachingandconsulting.com and for Ellie at samaramountain.com. And ladies, this is the necessary disclaimer. Our podcast content is for informational purposes and does not constitute professional advice from mental health, medical, legal, financial, or other areas. The opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host. It is our heart that this podcast will be a blessing to you. Together, let's build a powerful sisterhood with Jesus. Make a friend, add a sister, across the border and around the world.